Sorry, I should have introduced.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Board of Education meeting for September 26th, 2023. Start off with roll call.
Silva. Here. Bradley. Here. Stacy. Curran.
Here.
Knoble. Here. Linneman.
Here.
Spinney. Here. Forbes.
Okay, we have a quorum, and if everyone would please rise for the pledge of allegiance, followed by an invocation by Pastor Stacy Wilson of GC First Assembly of God.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to be together and to serve our community. I pray, Father, that you would touch each person on the board, lead and guide the discussion, help them, God, to see and to do what's best for the students and families in our community, and help us as a community support them and rally around them the best that we can. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I want to thank Pastor Wilson for always being supportive of our district and helping us out.
Thank you. Next up is public comment. So, is there anyone who would like to speak for?
I don't have anyone signed up.
Yeah, we don't have anybody signed up. Okay. Then we will move on to the approval of minutes of the regular board meeting September 12, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Okay, voice vote on this one, yeah.
Like a roll call vote or a voice vote? Like aye, all in favor, aye.
This one is a roll call.
Okay.
Is that what voice vote means on here? Yeah, it's.
It doesn't deal with money, it's all in favor.
Yeah, I think it's just an affirmation.
Okay. I think some of these might be.
So I
It's
think
got voice vote. It says.
Voice vote is probably affirmation, and then anything involving money or hiring would be roll call vote.
That's right. So we need to ignore it. Okay, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, guys have. And then next is our consent agenda for the, I guess the items considered repetitive and routine in nature. We can pull anything out. Move to section 7 for individual discussion and consideration. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Okay, once again, I just always have to mention when we have gifts, I think it's so important. I'm amazed all the time at how many things and how many people support the district. I've been talking back and forth with Lindsay Timmons from the Memorial Fund. She is donating $1,000 to school supplies, but she called to see what things you might want. And we have some new reading programs we have going on, and the teachers need something to put their writing. Anyway, she asked all this, and she's going to bring all those in tomorrow, and she donated all the stuff that we need. And she's also doing that for Women's Room. It's just amazing that she's giving back, and we're really appreciative. I'll have some pictures tomorrow. She didn't want to come to be recognized, even though she should have. We're really grateful. Also, the world-changing Word of Faith Delivering Ministry Church, also amazing. They're donating $500 of school supplies. This has really been beneficial. We have a lot of students. We had some students who are displaced, some people who are homeless, some just are not fortunate enough to be able to do all the things that they need, including just things at the school, different shoes or socks or things that students will need. So it has really made a huge difference for us. So we're very appreciative of that as well.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let's roll call.
Curran.
Aye.
Knoble.
Aye.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny. Aye. Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye.
Okay, next up, we have our recommendation resignations and communications. For human resources, 8A, rescinded retirements and resignations.
It is recommended that the following retirements and resignations be rescinded. Lynn Lantham, sixth grade teacher at Grigsby, rescind at end of 24-25. Vicki Wright, monitor at GCHS, rescind 6/25/25.
And then 8B, retirements and resignations.
The following, it is recommended also that the following retirements.
Oh, actually, wait, we need to go on that first.
Oh, I'm
jumping
sorry,
ahead.
I did.
I'm out of it.
Me too.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the rescindment of
Yes.
retirements resignations.
Any discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Curran.
Aye.
Noble. Aye. Linneman.
Aye.
Benny. Aye. Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye.
And then 8B, retirements and resignations.
It is recommended that the following retirements and resignations be accepted. Lynn Lantham, sixth grade teacher at Grigsby, retirement end of 23-24. Leanne Sturmer, fifth grade teacher at Grigsby, retirement end of 27-28. Jody Nesson, administrative assistant Mitchell, retirement end of 26-27. John Meridian, fine arts teacher at GCHS, retirement September 15th, 2023. Tracy Brody, fourth grade teacher Mitchell, retirement end of 25-26. And Vicki Wright, monitor at GCHS, retirement 1-24.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Noble. Aye. Linneman.
Aye.
Benny. Aye. Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye. Curran.
Aye.
And 8C, extracurricular resignations for the 23-24 school year.
Below, you've received detailed information about this item. The administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. The GCSD9 administration is recommending that the following extracurricular resignations for the 23-24 school year be accepted. Ginger Harrison, Coolidge Junior High head volleyball coach, and Mr. Kendall Lyons, GCHS head football coach.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny. Aye. Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye. Curran.
Aye.
Noble. Aye.
Okay, 8D, extracurricular recommendations for the 23-24 school year.
GCSD9 administration is recommending that the following extracurricular assignments for the 23-24 year be approved. The Granite City Fine Arts Department head has been a voluntary position for 3 years for the teachers' collective bargaining agreement. Per the collective bargaining agreement, teams, clubs, and activities are to be considered for compensation after 3 years of volunteer work. We have run the district fine arts department and head information through the extracurricular rubric, and they are recommending be placed on column 7, club sponsor C of the extracurricular salary schedule. Mr. Ryan Roberts has been volunteering for this position for the past 3 years. He's been recommended for this position with a stipend of $2,000. And Bailey Frank is being recommended for the GCHS assistant softball coach.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Benny. Aye. Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye. Curran.
Aye.
Noble. Aye. Linneman.
Aye.
8E, extracurricular recommendations for the 24-25 school year.
You have received detailed information about this item. The administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. The GCSD9 administration is recommending the following extracurricular assignments for the 24-25 school year be approved. Ms. Ashley Ritchie, GCHS Student Council sponsor.
Second.
Discussion.
I feel like it should be an anointing. It's like the
I
end
know,
of the era.
I know, but Linda's working with her. And Ashley's amazing. So, just want to say.
Roll call.
Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye. Curran.
Aye.
Noble. Aye. Linneman.
Aye.
Benny. Aye.
Okay, 8F, extracurricular volunteers for the 23-24 school year.
You have received detailed information about this item. Administration is prepared to make recommendations and hold for discussion in executive session. No, about this one. Just kidding. The GCSD9 administration is recommending that the following extracurricular volunteers for the 23-24 school year be approved. Mr. Eddie Bradley, Coolidge baseball coach.
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Bradley. I abstain.
I
It's not
did.
the abstain, but I actually abstain when my husband comes home. Makes things easier though. Curran. Linneman, or Noble.
Aye.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny, I, Silva. Aye.
8G, certified classified substitute.
We love this. You have received detailed information about this item. The administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. It is recommended that the following applicants be board approved as substitutes for the 23-24 school year. Certified substitutes, Jay Versky and Ruth Lakefront. Classified, Katie Barnett, Shirley Blake, Lacey Schaefer, Corey Book, Tess Phelps, Carrie Westbrook, Jamie Henry, and Sandra Poole. Yay. So moved. We're very happy. Thank you.
Discussion. Roll call.
Curran.
Aye.
Noble.
Aye.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny, I, Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye.
8H1, the employment of 2 maintenance HVAC positions.
Below, you've received the information about this item. The administration is prepared to make recommendations or hold for discussion in executive session. We have embarked on new HVAC projects across the district with 238 new units. That's right. Over the last 2 summers. These units have updated technology and equipment, but we still have equipment that is over 20 years old that we need to maintain. We interviewed a maintenance HVAC position to fill a recent retiree position, and in June 26th, we will have another retiree. To ensure we have replacements and help with the transition, we would like to hire 2 maintenance HVAC positions. We are recommending the employment of the following maintenance HVAC candidates with the start date of October 10, 2023. Mr. David O'Brien and Mr. Alberto Rios. Approval is recommended pending the submission of the required paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Curran.
Aye.
Noble.
Aye.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny, I, Silva. Aye. Bradley. Aye.
Okay, 10A, the purchase of the building trade plot 195 at 4825 Bailey Drive.
Due to the progress of our building trades home project in the Donald Legacy subdivision, we are seeking permission to move forward on the acquisition of a new lot. Approval of the attached resolution is recommended, and we do have all that work on that ahead of time. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
It's a great program. I love it. That's fantastic.
Really
Really neat.
You guys do a great job.
Roll call.
Noble.
Aye.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny, I, Silva.
Aye.
Bradley. Aye. Curran.
Aye. Okay, 10B, Granite City Saber Committee School Dance.
I'm so happy that we get to do all this again. The Granite City Saver Committee would like to request the renewal of the agreement to use the Bixby Intermediate School Gymnasium for the Saver School dances. The requested dates for the 23-24 school year are Friday, October 6th, 23, Friday, January 19th, 24, or Friday, February 9th, 24, if the weather in January is not so good, and Friday, April 12th, 2024. Proof of insurance will be provided prior to the first dance, and we've also requested permission to circulate flyers prior to the approval is recommended.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Linneman.
Aye.
Benny, I, Silva.
Aye.
Bradley. Aye. Curran.
Aye.
Noble.
Aye.
Okay, 10C, the adoption of the 23-24 GCSD9 budget. Mr. Surrey, would you like to?
Yeah, we need to make a
We
motion
need to do
to.
that first?
Yep, and then I'll do it in the public hearing.
Okay.
I move to temporarily adjourn for the budget.
Second.
All the,
Next.
acclamation, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are here in the
Looked like me.
GCSD9 public hearing for the budget. And is there any public comment?
Okay, well, I hope you guys all have something to drink because we're going to cover all 735 pages of the line item budget line by line.
We're gonna say popcorn.
Yeah, no, I'm not. We'll do a brief overview. It is a balanced budget. This year's pretty easy. We still have some of the CARES money that we're going through, so this is a pretty easy one. Budget overview, we saw a $95,000 increase to our EBF. That's because we went from a tier 2 school to a tier 3 school. We have a $6 million decrease in our corporate personal property replacement tax. We kind of anticipated that, so we scaled back in some of the prior year's budgets of that number, so we didn't have some recurring costs live in that. So we kind of planned for that. We knew it was coming. That should next year amount to additional EBF dollars, because that funding formula, it will probably drop us back down to a tier 2, possibly a tier 1, but I'm gonna say tier 2. We have $8 million in our budget of American Rescue Plan. It's used for student staff devices, for remote learning, COVID supplies, and retaining educational staff. This budget saw competitive wage adjustments for a minimum wage increase and minimum top salary increase. Those were negotiated. We have $1.2 million or $1.25 million roughly for a Frohart roof, $375,000 for a high school lab, staff laptop replacements. That's coming out of CARES money. We don't know the price of that yet, but we have a budgeted amount. It's going out for bid, so we don't want to advertise. We added 4 special education teachers. We also added, I forgot to put on here because I just completely forgot because it was a while ago, we added a drum person, a percussion specialist for the high school band. We had a 5.8% increase in health insurance. We've been doing pretty good. Last year was a little high. That's still a very low number in the health insurance area, so we're pretty good with that. We will look at about 1,500 student devices with American Rescue Plan money. We did some traffic solutions at Wilson for about $200,000. We continued expansion of summer school programs and after school programs with ESSER 3 funds. We did $400,000 for Grigsby's parking lot, and we also put in a football auditorium, or we're going to do a football auditorium and annex sound system upgrade. This is just a brief overview of revenue by fund. You can see most of our money lives in Fund 10, which is the education fund, and Fund 20 is the operations and maintenance, or O&M, basically Eric Smith's budget. That is pretty much where everything lives. 40 is transportation. When you hear me speak about operating funds, 10, 20, and 40 are what we're judged by for the state. The rest of them just kind of exist and they're there, but 10, 20, and 40 are what we have to have balanced to stay in good standing. You can see, real quickly, last year's budget, I used the October budget, not the amended budget. Some of the CARE stuff wasn't in there. That's why you see the light blue is last year's budget, and then the dark blue is the actual. Light blue, dark blue. Some of that is the CARE stuff. We just didn't have it in the budget. We amended it. I just like to see how I did to my original. And again, with that, over here, you can see we're just a little above budget. Most of that was CARE, so we wanted to make sure we got it all in. Expenditure by fund, same thing. You can see here a little bit of it, or a little bit above budget and a little bit above budget. That is again CARES money, because we didn't know what we were going to do, or not yet. So those over budget amounts there are that. You can see there's a pretty slight, good decrease in Fund 20. That's because he had a $9 million HVAC project that was all paid out of last year, and American Rescue Plan for the high school. Budget revenue and expenditure history of operating funds. You can see in the years that CPPRT has ticked up, we have had a pretty good surplus of revenue to expenditures. But you can see this year, as CPPRT came back down to reality, we're a little tighter and a little closer. We'll see where next year goes. I would preach caution, not panic. We just have to see where we end up and how some of our revenue sources turn out after we have more data. We're hoping it's not that close. Fund 10 revenue, local property ticked up a little bit. We had a pretty good increase. You can see I took most of the CPPRT losses out of the ed fund. Everything else remained about the same. We've got it pretty much spot on. So we were okay. Fund 20 revenue, I bumped a lot of CPPRT into that. That's to cover some of the offset of this year. to last year and some of the projects that we're still doing, and just to balance. And then there's no ESSER money, that is all gone. I use ESSER, American Rescue Plan, CARES, interchanged, so if somebody goes, oh wait, it's all the same.
And it all means the COVID support.
It all means COVID support, yeah.
So, go your own support.
Fund 40 revenue, same thing, I had to use a little more CPPRT to cover some increased costs. We expect regular ed and special ed to bump up a little bit because the cost went up. We get reimbursed. I'm waiting to see if they prorate or anything. We just don't know yet. Fund 10 expenditures. Most of our increases are going to come in the salary range. The benefits are holding steady, even with the increase, because we have a few less people in federal funds. So that brought some of our expenditures down. So that's why it didn't grow as well. It usually grows in conjunction with the 100s. It just didn't this year. We had a few less people in federal funds for TRS. So it held steady, but everything else is pretty much within where we thought it would be. If anybody has any questions, interrupt me. I'm better interrupted. Fund 20 expenditures, same thing here. 300. This was the budget for this was for the HVAC. The state moved it into the 300s for a purchase service. That's why there's the weird discrepancy on budget to actual. I just move it where they tell me to. As far as the 500s go, we still have over $5 million in capital improvement this year in operations and maintenance. So we're still catching up on some projects and some deferred maintenance from 10 years of not being funded by the state. Same here, Fund 40 expenditures, just enough to, a little bit of increase in supplies or in the contract cost from the bus company. We had a couple routes that we didn't run last year that we didn't get charged for, so we expected a few more routes. Expected increases. Surplus plus deficit, you can see, I go back to 2014 and 15. The blue number here is what we budgeted for surplus/deficit. You can see that we're pretty good here. Right here, the major change that you would see, this was we borrowed money, and this is when EBF started coming along. So as we had that, we've done really well at managing our expenditures to revenue. These 2 years, this is ESSER money and being offset with some stuff and just CPPRT. I mean, it just exploded. We went from 12 million in a year to 24 million without any real, like, hey, you're gonna get this. It was just massive. And now it's back down. So it's gonna end me. I mean, I'll do this for 10 more years. I know. Items for consideration.
Just for like clarification, it went from 12 million to 24 million. That doesn't mean we got like 12 extra million just sitting around hanging out.
No, we used it.
Yeah.
It's what allowed us some luxuries of
Yeah.
doing extra projects and stuff like
I just
that.
wanted to emphasize that point so where people understand we're not sitting really cushy with a lot of money.
Yes,
We're
but remember,
financially sound.
we are very financially
Yeah.
sound. But please remember, we have to have a cash flow to cover our debts depending on how stuff goes. We are still only as of last year, our fund balance was about $1 million over what the state recommends as excellent. So it's not massive by any stretch. Items for consideration. As we move forward, this time next year we will be talking about negotiating because we will be done with contracts. We are going to need to maintain competitive wages. We are also going to have to look at scaling back after CARES, after the ESSER money, avoiding a financial cliff. We don't want to get ourselves too out of whack because we do have some stuff from CARES that we're going to want to keep in our budget and just make sure that it's there and that we can maintain. 1-to-1 sustainability, that I don't think will be as big a deal as I thought it was at the beginning of all this. We get pretty good deals on Chromebooks.
Once we had to make that jump, then it was
Yeah.
scary, right?
We'll look at some long-term projections. I get the first supposed to be reduced CPPRT in October. Be paying attention to that number, see where it is, where it came in from last year. And then this used to be at the top of the list, but the infrastructure concerns and capital improvements, we're doing pretty good. We have some money that we can still move forward with some projects, some one-time expenditures. Repair, I think we got Wilson's roof that we still need to do, and we will go from there. But that was all I had. Any questions?
I just have a comment, and we've said it a couple times, but I am super proud of the way that the district has spent our COVID CARES money and our, explosion of funds in the moment, to where it set us up for a brighter future, a more stable, sustainable future.
The good thing about having a little fund balance is if we were at zero or barely a month or 2 or 3 months in the bank, we would get really nervous with the $6 million, with a fluctuation of a revenue source. And it's already, it's basically October when we're passing our budget that we started in July. So if some of that would happen, we would be panicking. We can at least now make, if we have to, we can reduce through attrition, we can plan for any type of reduction or surplus. We don't have to stop a project to say, oh my God, we have cash issues. We've been in pretty good shape.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank
Excellent
you.
job, as
Yes.
usual.
Yes.
You did a great job.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
With that,
Seven. It's a low.
motion to reconvene the regular board meeting.
It's a low.
Silva, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now that we are back as a regular board meeting, we need another motion to adopt the resolution and the 2023-24 GCSD9 budget.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Okay, roll call.
Denny, aye. Silva, aye. Bradley, aye. Curran,
Aye.
Noble,
Aye.
Lindemann.
Aye. Okay. Now we're on 10D, GCSD9, Safe Routes to School Grant application.
This is pretty exciting. It looks like the school district has the best opportunity to get the funding for a sidewalk in front of Grigsby. They can't, if you're familiar with the area on the Pontoon Road, they can't really walk from the parking lot or from the into Grigsby. It's a car deal and Pontoon, it's hard there. So there is a grant available. Judo and Associates is helping us with that. So this is just to make sure we can submit the grant. They're working very hard. We've done surveys with people in the community too. So this is where we get approval to submit. And all the information is.
Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Roll call.
Silva, aye. Bradley, aye. Curran,
Aye.
Noble, aye. Lindemann.
Aye.
Denny, aye.
Okay, this next one, 11(1)A, discipline of school junior high school students.
No.
No way. So,
Right. So I can just say we received detailed information on the item. The administration is prepared to make the recommendation, which you already have for a discussion in executive session. This is approval is recommending. A hearing was held on September 13th. Administration is recommending a 1-year expulsion for the student under civil code with services.
we have a motion.
So,
Roll call.
Bradley, aye. Curran,
Aye.
Noble,
Aye.
Lindemann.
Aye.
Denny, aye. Silva, aye.
Okay, and then 11(1)B, the discipline of Grand City High School.
detailed information about this item below is given to you ahead of time. The Administration is prepared to make recommendations or ready for discussion in executive session. Administration is recommending opening of expulsion with services available. Approval is recommended. The hearing is held on September 18th, 2023. Dr. Keel, I did need to ask, was there services available?
There are services available for both students, yes.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to know.
So moved.
Second?
Curran.
Aye.
Canoble.
Aye.
Lindemann.
Aye.
Denny. Aye. Silva.
Aye.
Bradley. Aye.
Okay, 11.2A, Freedom of Information Act request.
We received two requests under the Freedom of Information Act during the period of September 5th, 23 through September 19th, 23. First request, well, they were handled by administration. The requests are.
We have a motion? Oh, no, we don't need it. Okay, reports and other communications. First, we'll start off with the multi-grade level buildings committee update from the board secretary, Erica Vinnie, and board member, Becky Brown.
All right, so it seems like, once a month we're giving an update on this, but that's because we're moving right along. Ms. Bradley and I have completed our meetings with building administrators. So we had one meeting with basically pre-K/EC through 6th grade, and then we had another meeting with secondary building administrators, 7th grade through 12th grade. We did that for a couple of reasons. One, sheer numbers, keeping it smaller so we had better discussion. And two, we were able to have more targeted discussions because the conversations with elementary grades would vary versus secondary. So again, we thank those administrators for their time. They stayed late to meet with us. It was really a wonderful conversation. Again, similar to with our district administrators, we were talking through lots of pros and cons and just trying to collect as much information as possible for various scenarios. Currently, this week, Ms. Bradley and I are working on creating a survey that we hope to send out to district staff. That includes teachers, basically all of their staff. It'll be in the form of a Google form. Then we'll go through that data. And then the step after that would be to be reaching out to families in the community and then after that community stakeholders. So the timeline, it kind of depends because we don't want to rush each spot. I know people are really anxious to know what's the timeline. We're moving forward and we're continuing to moving forward, but we're not going to commit to an arbitrary timeline that is going to make us rush without taking things into consideration. That does not mean we are dragging our feet and prolonging it either. We're continuing, I feel, and I speak for you, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a smart, efficient pace. We're being very thoughtful in what we do because any decisions that would be made are going to have exponential impact over many, many years. And we want to make sure whatever changes, if there are changes that are made, are sustainable and don't drive us off the fiscal cliff, as Mr. Surrey was just talking about in his budget. So once we collect that data and then we'll survey people, we do hope, and again, I have no idea when this would happen, but when we get to that step, I think it's safe to say this year, like we're talking through these, we don't want to waste a lot of time, but we also want to make sure that we're educating and informing the public as much as possible because this is a very complex issue. It seems kind of like a slam dunk or a no-brainer to some people, but you fix one thing or you move one thing and you're going to tangle up about 17 other things. And so as we've been talking about in our conversations with everybody, we want to make sure that everything has a cost and a benefit, right? And we just want to make sure that the benefits are outweighing the costs and that any costs that we incur with this, be it fiscal costs or culture, educational, whatever costs, we want to make sure that that's worth the outcome for us. And so we just want to be really thoughtful for that. So we'll keep you guys updated. We've pretty much been doing a monthly update, so we'll continue to do that. I know many people have been, kind of rallying, not rallying in the rally sense, but there's a lot of chatter to talk about that. We encourage people to send us information. What's the email address? Is it
Information at GCSD9.
Information, not info. Information at GCSD9.
And then I get to you.
Yeah, and then they can get that to us too. Of course, you can also reach out and talk with us too, but that's just a format if you don't really have a way to get in touch with us individually, although our emails are online. But we promise we'll be getting you a survey pretty soon. But we're trying to make sure that we generally speaking, I think we like to involve our staff before we open it up to the whole public. because they have specific, it's just kind of
They're doing the job.
it's the way to do it, right?
Exactly.
Alright, I think that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I
Yes.
ask a question? Would this be a good time to discuss the difference between what, or what has been called the, not community, but the neighborhood schools versus multi-grade level buildings?
Yeah,
Would this be a
I
good
can
time?
clarify
to
Kind of a
that again.
reminder.
I've discussed it a few times, but I can give that clarification reminder again. It's easier to say neighborhood schools, it rolls off the tongue a lot easier than multi-grade level buildings or centers, attendance centers. But, you know, anybody that knows the city knows that you're not gonna have a neighborhood school. Because to do that, you'd have to have a lot more buildings throughout Granite City, and we do not have those. And I don't wanna give Mr. Surrey a heart attack and say we're gonna build about 7 different schools around the city. So we're trying to do this, again, this is one other lens to look through, we wanna be fiscally responsible with it, that's one of our number one charges as a board. But also, to be sustainable, to have this work, we don't want to create, you know, further issues for us. So we wanna do it in, you know, whatever changes or improvements we can make in a way that makes financial sense. And short of building a bunch of buildings around the town, you're not going to have a neighborhood school. And so regardless of the configuration we land on or if it stays the same, you're probably gonna drive past another school to get to your school. You know, the days of like riding your bike to school are probably not gonna happen.
Years ago, we had buses anyway.
Yeah.
That, I mean,
Right.
because you had a slice that went out to another
Yeah.
part of town.
Yeah.
So you had buses, the kids were busing, but that was their school for so many
Yeah.
years, so.
And I can tell you, like, I mean, common sense is gonna tell you, I think Ms. Bradley would agree. Whatever configuration you end up with when you say redistricting, which would be sending different populations or different pieces to different schools, it ain't gonna be pretty. It's gonna be messy. But that's something we're weighing with what are the costs and what are the benefits. And we wanna do what has the most benefit with
Yeah, that's.
not the lowest, like cheapest cost, but again, like we wanna make sure that we're being responsible
Well, it's part of
fiscally.
the equity thing, to make sure you don't end up with, you know, 500 kids here and
Yeah.
200 kids here.
And
So-
that
Yeah.
actually, that's happened in the past, where
Yes.
we actually had to move a line. But you're affecting maybe 10, 15 families start going to a different school as opposed to, you know, to the whole
Yeah.
district being redone. So, yeah,
And
that's
something else to
happened
keep
past.
in mind, like, it's not just, and this is another piece, I don't wanna get into all of it, we'll have a bigger presentation whenever we have all of our data, but you have to think about too, like, it's not just residential lines that we would be tweaking in families, I mean, you're gonna be slicing up, figuratively speaking, buildings and their cultures and teachers, and people are going to be reassigned and moved all over the place, so a change will result in a major upheaval. Again, that's not saying it's off the table, but we wanna make sure that those benefits and our ability to do that are sound. Because we don't wanna just have a knee-jerk reaction and do something arbitrarily without really thinking through the problems we're gonna create with it, because we gotta live with those problems. So we just wanna make sure we're doing it with as many voices and trying not to overlook anything, I guess I'd say. Was that okay for clarification? That's not a long one.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much. Up next, we have our district manager of communications, Chris Mitchell, with a report.
All right, so I'm here to give the board a bus update. As you know, we are in our second year with First Student. So I'm gonna go through a couple things here. We're gonna give an overview of district view, parent view, and First Acts. First Student has done a much better job this year of recruiting drivers, so I just wanna go right off the bat with a positive that we do have 74 bus drivers as of right now and 38 bus monitors, which obviously has made our life a lot easier this year. Not gonna go through all this in here, but I do wanna talk a little bit about First View. So First View is our product that we launched earlier this year. It's broken into two things. District View is our web-based tool that the administrators use, and also the principals. And our principals that are in attendance here use this as much as I do every single day. We're also going to talk about Parent View, which we've talked about in meetings before. Parent View is the mobile app. And as you can see, we have almost 2,100 users so far. So that has been, that's been something that's been really good for us. Now the first year, last year when we started with first student, that was our first year. Okay, the average time of arrival for our students was about 5:45 to 6 o'clock. Now when most schools are getting out between 3:30 and 4, you can do the math, they're on the bus for a couple hours, which was unacceptable. We had no app last year, radios weren't working, tons of phone calls to Mr. Hervé's office and per student, and we were short drivers. Fast forward to 23-24, students' time on the bus has been trimmed down significantly. That's very important. Less phone calls to myself and Brad, and also the locations. We now have GPSs on our buses, radios on all of our buses, more drivers, less subs, and First Student has added a person in the afternoon to answer phone calls. Last year we received a ton of phone calls saying they didn't have enough people, so First Student took it upon themselves to add another person to help take phone calls. So District View, like I said, this is what our admins, our principals, and First Student staff see. This is for tracking, messaging, visibility, security. I'm not going to go through all this, but give you some examples here. This is a screenshot of Maryville School after school has ended. This is from my computer. So this is what I see when I'm tracking buses. If I get a call from a parent, first thing I ask them is, have you downloaded the app? If they haven't, I can check right here where their bus is, and then I can go to this page, which will show me scheduled arrival, estimated arrival, actual arrival, and actual departure. So this should be really important when it's raining, like this tonight, or if it's snowing and it's cold. So this should help a ton. It's Principal Baker at Wilson 1-2 Education Center. I've been out there a lot this year helping with dismissal. This is him watching his buses on his TV. So all of our principals have that. So Parent View. This is what we have asked all of our parents to download. And I do want to give a shout out to our administrative assistants up in the registration office. All summer, when they were registering students, new and old, this is the first thing they asked them. If they chose a bus, do you have the app? And if you didn't have the app, they had them download it. Because like I said, this is helping us a lot. So Parent View is very similar. You as a parent can receive district notifications on your phone. If it's going to be 15 minutes late, First Student will send something out. You know where your bus is all the time. You can track the bus. You can get some support. You know how far it is. Is it a mile out? Is it a half mile out? And as you'll see in a minute, it helps significantly with when you have multiple students. So how do you get this as a parent? Hopefully there's some parents watching this tonight. It's on our website, first of all. It's free. You will need your student or student's route name as it appears in District View, and then you'll need your student ID number. And if parents don't have that information, they can call our office and we can assist that with them. It's a free mobile app, but we want all of our parents to download it. So with the success that we've had with First View, we pitched a story to Channel 4 to see if they would come out and tell our story about the success we've had and how it's helped our district. So I want to show everybody this story that was on Channel 4 last week.
Welcome back. More parents across the area are able to keep an eye on their child's bus routes all from their phones, as many districts and companies are creating apps to help put parents at ease.
First Alert 4's Caroline Hecker explains how the app works for a Metro East district and why one parent says it has made her morning routine much easier.
Ready? Every morning is a balancing act for Tatiana Cass.
Get your backpack?
Trying to get each of her 4 kids off to school on time. It's now made much easier thanks to the First View app, created by First Student Bus Company.
Trying to get 4 kids out the door at different times. I'm able to track when the bus is coming, so we're not is sitting out there. You can zoom in to see exactly what street it's on.
The app allows parents in the Granite City School District to track their child's bus, set up alerts for when the bus is getting close, and track it all the way to school.
The idea behind it is to cut out confusion, and it cuts down like 60% of our phone calls. You know, because we have a lot of parents that call in wanting to know where the bus is, if they missed the bus.
The app allows Cass and her youngest son, Cruz, to head outside as the bus is approaching. Good morning! Helping her save time and get back to work faster before Cruz comes home at lunchtime.
Bye! But I'm able to plan my day a little bit better and not have my boss freak out because I'd be at the bus stop for over an hour waiting, especially at the beginning of school, not knowing what time the bus would actually show up.
As she's working, the kids are on their way to school. The bus's every move tracked with the app.
It does take some of the stress out of the entire process. Makes them feel more comfortable knowing that they can, you know, track the bus while their child's on there and know that their child's getting to school.
When they arrive, teachers are there to greet them, walking hand in hand, ready to learn, as the bus drivers gear up for that afternoon rush. In Granite City, Caroline Hecker, First Alert 4.
I like that idea. A parent can say to their kid, look, that bus is 50 yards away, time to get out the door, right now. I love that. I'm going to get that app and get started today. You can visit our website, KMOC.com.
And that's how mornings went for Corey pretty consistently. All right.
Chris, don't we have a very large percentage of our bus riding parents that have downloaded the app?
Yeah, we're, like you said, we're at about 2,100 downloads so far. But obviously, like I told you guys, that's the first thing I ask a parent when they call, is have you downloaded the app? Because it's, I mean, we're gonna have delays, you know, especially as we get into the winter season with snow and rain and cold weather. There's gonna be call-offs. We're gonna have sub-drivers. When a driver drives the route for the first time, I'd be shocked if I could do it in, you know, less than a 30-minute delay. So, but obviously this has been a huge asset for our district. One thing that I did want to show is we do give an all clear to our principals each day. Last year I told you a lot of the times we were doing this at 5:45, 6 o'clock, which is just too late, especially for our principals that work at schools that don't get out till 3:30 or 3:45. That becomes a long day. So as you can see, we're sending that out normally. I normally send it out right about 5 o'clock now. 23 of our 28 days have been sent out before 5:10. So our goal is, you know, to get our kids home safely, but also to get our staff home, you know, so they can be with their families. So we're working on this. We still have things to fix, though. We still have things that Brad and I are talking with parents every day about things that we can fix. So I do want to mention First Acts, which is a new product that was just launched on about 10 days ago. This is our web-based application that we use for our student ridership behavior tracking system. So this goes directly, so if a monitor or a bus driver fills out, someone's acting up on the bus, they fill it out, it goes to first student, it goes to the principal at the school they're enrolled in, and it goes to myself. So this is something, you know, we're not writing everything out like the old days, and it goes directly to our principals and myself. So hopefully we can address this, you know, as soon as possible. So we hope that's been a nice little addition. Last thing is, I've been working with Heritage Petroleum. We added a third tank at the bus lot. As you can see, a 550-gallon tank. It's 87 octane gas. How this saves the district time and money, our first student time, the district money is, we will now be filling up our buses for 87 on the lot. They've been driving in the past to Quick Trip, which is like 15 minutes, fill up the bus, drive it back. So I've been working with First Student on a way that we can save some time and money. So now we have three tanks on site. One question that did come up that I wanted to share is there's only 2 drivers that are authorized to fuel these buses. And there are drivers that do it every day. And it's the same fuelers as last year. So it's not, I'm not going out there and filling up the bus, and neither is Mr. Irving. The only exception is if the mechanics need to do it. for some reason, so they are approved to do that. So all the fuel pumps are shut off by a breaker in the garage when fueling is not taking place to ensure that no one can just pull up to the pumps and start getting gas. So we hope this will save some time for our drivers and also save the district some money moving forward. And Mr. Surrey loves that, I'm sure. I do want to share this quote as we end the presentation. Ms. Bratton, the principal at Prather, we had an incident the other day. We had a bus breakdown while on our circle drive. In a spur of the moment, which was a stressful moment, first student executed procedures effortlessly and made an impressive turnaround solution. I would like to make a particular note of the bus mechanic who was sent out. He fixed the bus. He was like a shining star for the bus company in a stressful situation. We had this same bus actually broke down 2 days in a row, and they had to send out mechanics both times. So that's an example where we had a bus delay. The first student sends out a notification to that bus, so those parents know that they are going to be late. So I just wanted to share that quote from Ms. Bratton. Do you guys have any questions?
I do, Chris.
Okay, what do we got?
Does that also follow buses that are on like field trips or sports buses? Can parents tell, oh, they're almost back to the school?
So sports, we do not. We do not.
What about field trips?
No, because they only follow the routes.
Okay, the only reason I'm saying that's usually when we had fiascos happen.
Yeah, because it's usually a different bus number than your kid normally rides, so it's a different route, and they can't cover those, but they can't. So the way it is the GPS reporting on the route, so they track the route. Anything off that route, so that's when the sub part, that's why we had issues last year, because there were so many subs that were driving multiple routes that they couldn't do the GPS routing. So that's why the larger number of drivers helps this entire process out. That's the key to everything.
When they feel if they need to with the GPS, they'll be able to see where they're going.
Now, Lori, we had a situation earlier this year where the numbers in first view got switched. Okay, so a bus was in Fairview Heights, it was a boys golf team, and those parents, could have been yourself, is wondering why your son or daughter is in Fairview Heights.
Really awesome, for sure.
So it does happen, those things happen,
Okay.
but hopefully that won't happen again.
But they sent out a direction and told them,
So things like that, they do happen whenever now with, good weather, we're switching buses with field trips and have to have the right bus for the right people. So.
I just really want to tell Mr. Mitchell how much we appreciate his efforts this year. And last year he was out at the facility helping too with Mr. Hervé. But this year he's done an excellent job, and I thought this was a great presentation to explain all of this to you. It really is much better this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No pressure, Mr. Smith.
Next up, we do have a Michael Short.
Aaron Smith, our supervisor of the building.
Oh, I've had them for a long time. My contacts aren't working.
Give me a second, Mr. Smith. Well, there.
I know what happened.
CPRT.
I made sure mine worked.
Yeah, I see that.
You know? All right, we good?
Yeah.
See if that clicker works.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry
start
about that.
with the Gym floor. As you see, the gym floor, they are doing the final sanding this week.
Their proposed date is gonna be end of October, beginning of November to be completed, so hopefully we'll be done before, the season starts. It's really moving along pretty good. Next, we have some playground painting that, we've been doing. We usually do this in the fall, to kind of get caught up. This is the time of year we try to, do the playgrounds and any exterior painting. This is Maryville School. It's just about completed, and then we'll move on to another playground, weather permitting. The exterior of the buildings we are painting also. We're doing Wilson, Maryville, Lake, and the high school. The high school, we're doing a lot of fire escapes, doors. Maryville, Wilson, and Lake, we're doing the concrete facade that's on the front, that's above the windows, and any exterior doors that are not going to be replaced. There's a fire escape at high school. These have been in need of painting for many years. Our cameras are just about completed in the district. This is Mitchell School. I think the next building we're going to do is actually going to be the board office and a few additional cameras throughout the district. We've been working with the tech department on getting those installed. Frohard roof is now complete. They should be getting a dumpster out of there if they haven't done it today. So that project went real well. Most of the demolition was completed before the end of school, or before school started, so we weren't in any danger of the kids. Our door replacement has started. I know we've been 2 years into this, ordering the doors, trying to get them in. As the doors, we receive them, we are putting them in. This is Prather, their entrance door. Prather, they have another door that's on the back side that has Prox readers. Prox readers have also came in. As we get the new doors up, we are going to install those Prather. We should have their door up and going, hopefully, maybe this week. A lot of our, back up there, a lot of the student furniture we've started to replace. This is Grigsby. A lot of the school furniture is getting in pretty bad shape. A lot of their cafeteria tables were broken on the edges, and some sharp areas, and seating, they're having some seating issues out there. So with these new tables, that kind of eliminates that, and it's easier for the custodians to clean underneath also. They'll fold up so they can maybe wheel them down to another part of the building and use them somewhere else. The HVAC project at high school is going as scheduled. We look to wrap that up somewhere around the holidays. First of the year, that should be completed. This is some of the bigger air handlers that are going on the roof. This air handler takes care of a lot of Grand Avenue and the PAC Center and the Spanish Hall. So this is a pretty big unit. This brings in all the fresh air to the building. These are all of our condensers that are on the roof that are actually going to run the individual classrooms. So every classroom will have its own air conditioner and be able to have temperature controlled as they wish. But our only problem, our completion date, is now, not completion date, our startup date, I should say. We're waiting on electrical panel. It seems to be a nationwide thing. We're waiting on it on a different project also, which is up next. The manufacturer gave us a date this month that it was going to be shipped. They have now rescinded that. We have no date. Same thing at the softball field. This electrical panel, we were told, is in. We're told that Ameren has a transformer, so it's installed. I'll believe it. And then we'll have a scoreboard. A lot of the traffic, this is the traffic that Zach had mentioned. This was some of our projects that we had completed. We had a lot of traffic action problems at Cargill Road and Wilson Avenue, and with the parking lot projects, I think it's eliminated. That's it.
Great job managing all that too. There were so many. We, in consent agenda, we did approve it, but I feel a little bit badly because Mr. Hayes was here tonight, so I want to give him the opportunity to talk about the EF tour that they're planning. If you want to do a couple minutes about what you're planning to do, a little recruitment thing.
Sure, do I have 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Let's make it a couple minutes then. The three other counselors and myself decided we want to try to do a Europe trip with our students in 2025. So with that being said, we're planning a trip it would fly into Italy, it would go through France, Spain, and then we'd be on our way back home. It's a 9-day trip. We've been in contact with EF Tours. They kind of explain how everything is laid out with costs of meals, the places that we're going to be able to visit, the accommodations. They take care of all of that stuff. So we'd like to promote it to our students as an opportunity for them to kind of get out and see the world. Total cost that we're looking at for students is going to be around $4,300. For any paying adult, it would be just under $5,000, I think. So.
And how long is that trip?
9 days.
If you need a board member that speaks a few languages,
I can do it.
Sounds awesome. I'm really excited for this.
I'm up for it.
That does include like lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
Generally
2 meals a day, and then obviously we've got some excursions set in there, so there's a huge educational component to it, as well as a little bit of downtime.
I used to give education tours as a teacher for years. They're an incredible company. So I just want to make sure we did approve it, but I felt he was here and I wanted to give him a chance.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Apologize for the delay.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then that, we would like to go into brief executive session. Basically, we have the things we talked about in here are noted under 5 ILCS 120/2 Open Meetings Act. And today, those are 2 CF 5.6, which is purchase or lease of real property for use by the public body, setting the price thereof, and 2 C8, which is student safety. So do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opportunity for everyone else to speak.
Yes. And with that,